It's David Noble filling in for Aaron Flint, and we've got Senator Tom Cotton and U.S. Senate candidate Tim Sheehy in the house, in studio with us. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Great to be here. Thanks for having us.
Hey Dave, thanks for having us in. It's great to be here with Tim Sheehy.
Hey, so Senator Cotton, how are you liking Montana? Have you been here before?
I love Montana. I have been here before. It's great to be back. My wife actually is jealous. She lived here for 3 years. And
oh, that's awesome.
Wanted me to come out even though she's stuck at home with both of her young boys because she knows this is the most important Senate race in the country.
Absolutely. And I'm assuming you fully endorse Tim Sheehy.
From the very beginning, yep. Before he was even in the race, I was trying to get him into the race and endorsed him on day one. And I can't stress again to all your listeners how important this Senate race is. Obviously, it's important for the people of Montana to have a voice and a champion for them and their interest and aspirations in the U.S. Senate, because Jon Tester sure as hell isn't doing that. But it's also critical for our state, or for our country and its future. This is the tipping point race in the U.S. Senate. If Tim Sheehy wins here on Election Day, then we will kick Chuck Schumer out of the Senate Majority Leader's office and begin to repair the damage that the Democrats have inflicted on Montana and our entire country.
Amen. We had a caller this morning call in and talk about how, look, Kamala Harris, Jon Tester, these people are just mouthpieces. They're just figureheads. They're just spewing whatever line, they were told to by the DNC and the special money interest. My response was, Jon Tester takes it a step further because, in my personal opinion, and this is my own speculation, I think Jon Tester went to Chuck Schumer and the DNC and he got permission from the DNC to come to Montana and to pretend to be a conservative MAGA Republican to win this race. And in exchange, Jon Tester promised Chuck Schumer, hey, let me go back to Montana, let me lie to the people of Montana, let me pretend to be a conservative, and then if I win, he's going to go back to DC and he's going to do exactly what you've mentioned he does all the time, Tim, which is 100% of the time when it counts, when it's a 50-50 vote and Kamala Harris is called in to break that tie, Jon Tester 100% of the time voted with Joe Biden. That's my speculation, but I always love the point that you bring up about how, look, this is not just some 90%, 95%, 100%. When it was a tie-breaking vote, Tester was right there with them.
Well, and it's what you mentioned is not a conspiracy theory, it's just the truth. Look at the two Democrat senators that did buck their party and did say, you know what, I'm a Democrat, but I'm going to stand for common sense and what's good for the country. Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. And basically what happened to both those people? They got ran out of their party, became independents, and then they couldn't run for election because they knew they were not going to get $1 from Chuck Schumer, the DNC, or the DSCC, or George Soros, or anybody else, because they did not follow the party line. Guess who doesn't have that problem? Jon Tester. He's not having that problem one bit because, as you correctly pointed out, 100% of the time when it matters, he's voting in lockstep with the Biden-Harris-Walz agenda. He has for 18 years, and the last 3.5 years with the 50-50 Senate, he's shown his true colors because he could have, at any point in time, been the stopgap to stop the lunacy from the Green New Deal to the Inflation Reduction Act to boys and girls sports to illegal migrant flights. The list goes on. And not once did he stand up and say, Montana wants a secure border, safe streets, cheap gas, cops are good, criminals are bad, boys are boys. So I'm going to vote to support that. Instead, he's voted in lockstep with big government socialists every step of the way.
No, it's a great point. I mean, how does he get to pretend to be a moderate when you're exactly right? The actual moderates that were in the Democrat Party, that actually were swing votes, that actually stood for their states against the Democrats, they were run out of the party, they're trashed, they're thrown to the curb. And frankly, the Democrats, they love to cancel people and destroy people's lives. One of the reasons people respect me so much is because I've got a career and a family here in this state and in this city, and I'm putting that at risk by coming onto the radio and voicing conservative opinions. And with Jon Tester and the Democrats, if you don't toe the line on the transgender, the radical LGBT agenda, they'll throw you out. And so it's very telling that Tester is not only not thrown out of the Democrat Party, but Chuck Schumer is willing to even body block reporters that want to ask him questions.
Well, I can tell you, I see what Tim is talking about every day in the U.S. Senate. Chuck Schumer doesn't really care what Jon Tester says in Montana to trick people into thinking that he's a moderate or conservative.
He cares about the votes.
He cares about the vote. So he tells Jon Tester, you go back to Montana and you say whatever it takes to get elected as long as we have your vote when it counts. And Tim is exactly right. The numbers may say 95% of the time, but it's 100% of the time when it matters. And I see it. You got true blue liberals in the Senate like Bernie Sanders. you know exactly where they stand. They come down and they vote early and leave because they've got no questions about their liberal convictions. John Tester, though, is kind of hiding off in the corner, maybe behind a door, looking around at the vote tally. He's waiting to see if Chuck Schumer can give him a hall pass on this, that, or the other vote. And that's the only time that John Tester votes against Chuck Schumer, is when Chuck Schumer already has the votes in hand that he needs, and he throws John Tester a bone to allow him to vote against the Democratic Party, just so he can go home and say he's an independent voice for Montana, when in reality, he is a mouthpiece and a rubber stamp for Chuck Schumer and Kamala Harris.
And he's running the Joe Biden campaign of 2020, hiding in his basement. I couldn't believe on Twitter, on X, I'm sorry, I know the Democrats call it Twitter. On X, John Tester tweeted out a video saying, "Hey, it was great to be in Ravalli County. It was so cool to be in Ravalli County. Love the people of Ravalli." And then you look at the photo and it's got Monica Lindeen, it's got Barack Obama signs up. And he's literally pretending to be out there visiting people, and he's posting his old campaign photos.
Well, and he's also trying to pay college athletes cash to endorse him, because he knows that he has voted to let boys play women's sports, which have basically destroyed the competitiveness of female athletics. And he knows he's exposed to this issue, so he's paying female college athletes to endorse him. He has no shame in what he'll do to get reelected. And as you said, he's running a basement campaign. He is taking hundreds of millions of dollars of out-of-state dark money, the #1 recipient, I might add, of dark money lobbyist cash in the entire country of all candidates, congressional, senatorial, gubernatorial, presidential,
Right.
and #1 recipient of out-of-state dark money.
In the 2024 cycle, I've brought that point up recently, and
Yeah.
oh, that's an old story. That's a story from no. Look at the OpenSecrets.org 2024 reporting right now. What I love about what you're doing, Tim, and I want to ask you guys about what you've been seeing in Montana at these rallies and what's coming up. But what I always tell people is, I encourage everybody to try to come to one of your events and to meet you in person, to shake your hand, to talk to you face to face. Because in my personal experience and in the experience of every single Montanan I've ever talked to that's actually had the chance to be face to face with you, they say, "Wow, he's so genuine. I support him 10 times more now. I can't believe all the lies about him. You're the real deal." And you're out there meeting people face to face. As you mentioned, you can't compete with Tester's $50-60 million in his campaign chest, plus all the dark money spending. And so you've got to be out there meeting people face to face. It's working. I'll tell you that it's working. And then I saw Aaron Flint tweeted out your tweet with some of the Lewistown showing up people yesterday, and I was blown away by the size of the crowd there and the excitement level in Lewistown. So why don't you tell us a little about what happened in Lewistown this morning, and then kind of what's happening?
Well, obviously, having Senator Cotton here is incredibly helpful, because, of course, he's been a great conservative warrior, both on the battlefields of Iraq and Afghanistan, like me, but also in the halls of the Senate, and most importantly, on the airwaves of MSNBC and CNN. He loves to get on there and mix it up.
Oh, the Sunday show appearance with Kristen Welker was hilarious, because Senator Tom.
Exactly right, but like you pointed out, I mean, we can't compete on the airwaves, and Tester's running a basement campaign with bought airtime, and we're doing the opposite. We're fighting a ground war here, every county, every town, rodeo, VFW hall, shaking hands, looking people in the eye, and as I tell the story about a year ago, our first campaign event in Wolf Point, there were 2 people there, and they weren't even there for the event. They had already at the senior center when I arrived. So. But now we're every venue we go to, we're having to spill. We had in Hamilton the other day, or Stevensville, can't keep it straight, we do so many a day. We had, still 50-60 people in the hallway outside the event. So the grassroots is working, the enthusiasm is real, and that's because, we're not BSing people. I'm shaking their hand, looking them in the eye, saying, here's who I am, here's what I stand for, and here's how we're gonna save this country.
I love it, and I'll no disrespect to Senator Cotton, but I've been telling people, hey, really, really cool, I'm gonna get to be on the radio with Senator Cotton and Tim Sheehy, and all the Montanans are like, "No way, you get to see Tim Sheehy, cool Tim." And I'm thinking, what? Well, Senator Cotton's an actual U.S. Senator already. Tim Sheehy's a future U.S. Senator, but it's an honor to have both of you guys here.
Thank you. It's great to be on with you, and it's understandable that Montanans are excited about Tim Sheehy, because Tim is going to be their champion in the United States Senate. John Tester is the champion for the Democratic Party in Washington, D.C., and Kamala Harris and Chuck Schumer. As you said, for all those Montanans who have come out, they've met Tim in person, they've shaken his hand, they looked in the eye, they know that he's a genuine American patriot who loves his country and who loves your state, and who's going to be your voice in Washington, D.C. And I encourage you, if you haven't had a chance to do that, get out to one of his campaign rallies, get out to a town hall event, say hello to him, get a chance to take his measure. He promise you won't be disappointed. You won't just want to vote for him, but you want to go out and get more people to vote for him as well. If you're his voice for the next 9 weeks, he'll be your voice in the United States Senate for the next 6 years.
That's fantastic, and we do have some more time here with Senator Cotton and U.S. Senate candidate Tim Sheehy. Looks like we've got John and Bozeman still on the lines. I'm sure these two fine gentlemen will take your phone calls, 406-294-0970. David Noble filling in for Aaron Flint. We'll be right back.
Conversation and our political direction. And if you're ready for a new direction in this country, you need to send John Tester back to the people he really represents, which are the special interest in Washington, D.C., and elect Tim Sheehy as your next senator.
Well said. I 100% agree with that. You accept that endorsement, right?
Proudly. We got about 60 days left here, and if you're listening and you want to change the direction of this country, and you want to secure our border, you want to bring gas prices down, you want to unleash our economy, you need to talk to 10 people or 20 people in the next